Welcome 3D students. In this video we're actually going to create the texture for our character using Photoshop and the UVW template that we rendered in the previous video. Now how your character looks, of course, is completely up to you. I'll be texturing mine in a certain way, but you can do whatever you want to yours. Now typically after you unwrap your character, many 3D artists will take their model into a program like ZBrush or Substance Painter, which allows you to paint directly on the model and add lots of different textures and things like that. But unfortunately we don't have access to those programs, so we're going to do it the old-fashioned way using Photoshop. Okay, so let's start by opening Photoshop. When you open Photoshop, you'll see it look like this, and you should click Open and find the UVW template that you created. Here's mine. And click Open. And when it opens, it will look like this. So to prepare for texturing, let's start by setting up our environment here for working on textures. Let's right-click on the background layer here, and we're going to duplicate this layer. And we're going to do that twice. So we should have 3 layers in here now. And then for each one of these new layers, we're going to change the blend mode to screen. And that just makes it see-through and it makes it very bright. And then let's turn off this background layer. And we need to also lock these 2 top layers so we don't accidentally move them. And then let's create a layer right here. So I want you to click on the background layer and then click on this new layer button, which creates a layer above the layer you have selected, like so. Now this is the layer we're going to paint on. Now we can start by just filling it with a color. So let's go to the color swatch here, click on it, open it up, and create a color. I think I'm going to make mine sort of a nice sort of light blue, maybe about like that. Now to fill a layer with the foreground color, this is the foreground, this is the background here. To fill a layer with the foreground color in Photoshop, you press Alt-Delete, and that fills the layer with the foreground color. Now you can see here that we can still see our UVW template here. That's because of what we did here with these 2 layers. If we turn one off, you can see that it's much dimmer. If you wanted to make it even brighter, of course, then you would just duplicate this layer one more time. You can see it's a little brighter still. Now here's where the fun starts. Let's start to paint. I'm going to start by painting his hands. Remember, these are his hands, the hands of my character. I'm going to zoom in some. You can hold down Alt in your middle mouse wheel, roll your middle mouse wheel in Photoshop to zoom in and out. And I'm going to roll up a little bit. I'm going to select the paintbrush tool right here. And to increase or decrease the size of the paintbrush tool, you use the bracket keys, left and right, on your keyboard. So I'm going to make it a little smaller. Then I'm going to come over here to the color swatch, the foreground color swatch, and I'm going to make this color kind of a green. And now I'm going to paint. Now notice that I just painted and I began painting on a new layer. What I really want to do is come down here and I want to create a new layer. So I'm painting not on this layer, but on a new layer that I can then turn off or delete if I don't like it. It's called non-destructive editing. So I'm going to paint this green color here. And I'm just using my mouse, clicking my left mouse button when I want to paint. And then I'm going to roll side to side as Control, middle mouse wheel. Now remember, you don't have to do yours like this at all. You don't have to use the same colors I use. But we're going to put some patterns on it in the next video. But right now we're just painting some basic colors. Maybe paint the inside of the mouth, maybe a nice pink. Now, if you want to switch back to one color, like if I wanted to switch back to this green color, all you got to do when you have your brush active is hold down Alt, and that activates the eyedropper, and then you click on that color, and it puts that in the swatch, in the foreground swatch for you to use to paint. I'm going to try to paint a little belly patch here. Now I know that this mesh part here is sort of the center of the stomach of my character. So I'm just going to paint sort of right around in here. If you paint outside the lines, then get the eraser tool and just simply erase. Now to apply this texture, you have to do a process whereby you turn off the UVW grid layers, and then you render or export only the layers that you want visible. So I'm going to go to File, Export, Export As, and I'm going to leave this as a PNG and click Export. And I'm going to make sure that it's going in my project folder inside the Scene Assets Images folder. And I'm going to rename this Base Color 01 and click Save. Now I can go back to 3D Max, go to the Material Editor, drag off the base color node, General, Bitmap, and select that new texture I just created, and click OK. And there he is so far. Now he doesn't need to be shiny, so remember I'm going to click the physical material here and kill the reflections and bring up the roughness. I'm also going to add a turbo smooth to the top of the stack here so I can smooth him. And then I want to take a quick render. So I'm going to click the teapot icon here. And I'm going to turn on the play button here so I can zoom in and get a closer look. And that looks pretty good. Except I do see one problem I have right here. You can see that this side of the texture is very sharp of this green spot, and this is very soft. That's because in Photoshop, when I had the eraser selected, its brush softness up here was, or its brush hardness was 100%. I need to change that to 0 for next time. So when we come back, I'll show you how to put some patterns and some other things on your character if you want to, and I'll see you in the next video.